Welcome to We Are Soccer. It's midweek, and you know what time that is. It's MLS Round Up time with Brook Laimbeer. Brooks, thanks for joining, man. Looking forward to talking to you about the MLS that's happened over the past weekend. It's happened this week. So thanks for joining, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Craig.
All right, lots of soccer's happened in the MLS in the last week here. Why don't we start with some of the games that happened this past weekend? Some big ones from Saturday and Sunday. Which game stuck out to you, my friend?
Yeah, so the big one that I watched earlier in the week, I believe it was Friday night, was Vancouver versus Portland. So Cascadia rivalry. So between Seattle, Vancouver, and Portland, they do a trophy, the Cascadia Trophy. So that was actually, I didn't know. They're actually the games kind of currently that are going to from here on forward are going to be kind of the point system they use for the Cascadia Cup actually. So obviously Portland's played a few against Seattle's, and Seattle's going to play Vancouver a few more times, but it was a good start by Portland. So, 3 wins in a row, make that, that'll be the 4th one. So, beating Houston and then Seattle and then Vancouver. So big wins there. So, but Portland started off well, a lot of attack in the first half. Vancouver held their own. And they're looking good. They're looking good with the interim coach right now, and that transition after Mark Dos Santos was released or parted ways with the club. So, and listen, rivalry games between the Cascadia teams are always tough. It's always going to be chippy. It's always going to be, a lot of goals, a lot of shots, yellow, red cards, everything. But it was good to see Portland play well, fight through adversity, and come out with the 1-0 win. It wasn't the prettiest goal by Felipe Mora. It was a little deflection into the off a defender into the goal. But listen, a goal is a goal, and to come away with the 3 points and Portland moving themselves up the Western Conference table a little more. Yep. Big win for them.
Definitely coming away with a 1-0 victory, and a hard-fought victory, as you said. Officially, that goes down as an own goal, from what I understand. But you know what? He'll probably keep trying to claim the goal. All right. What was some of the other games that stuck out to you, my friend?
Yeah. So an interesting one, honestly, was Colorado versus LA Galaxy. So you have Greg Vanney, who this year took over the LA Galaxy, formerly the Toronto FC head coach, coaching against his former assistant coach at Toronto, Fraser. So, it was an interesting match. I mean, both teams playing a 3-back. Actually, it was interesting. Colorado, they said on the MLS website, was in a 3-6-1. They had a box in the middle, so that was pretty interesting. This is a common formation.
I've never seen that before. I've never seen a 3-6-1, by the way.
Me neither. And apparently, I was talking to some youth coaches actually during ODP, and one guy was actually playing that with his youth team, a 3-6-1. And I'm like, this is interesting. Like, he's like, yeah, man, this might be the new thing. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, let's see if it catches on. And you get some width from the wing backs, and you get to clog up the middle a bit. So, we'll see how it goes. But
I think at some point, we're not going to digress into that right now, but at some point I'd like to unpack that. Maybe that could be its own little segment completely, a 3-6-1, and what kind of formation you fall into when you have the ball and when you don't have the ball, and how things that is the most bizarre thing I've heard in a long time.
Yes.
And I didn't realize that the MLS website had said they're playing that. So sorry to interrupt you there, but
okay.
Yeah, 1-1 for Colorado and LA there. And Colorado playing a 3-6-1.
Yeah. I think LA was in a 3-4-3, but I mean, great match, up and down, very exciting. Great whipped in ball from the draft pick, Andre Shinyashiki, who Colorado drafted last year at the University of Denver. Great whipped in ball. Michael Barrios, not the biggest guy, gets up though, heads it in. And then unfortunately, just in the second half, Galaxy makes some subs. They switch it up. They bring in Granzier off the bench on one of their DP signings, one of their foreign guys they brought in, and just kind of a little lofted ball over the top, beats the center back, and unfortunately Yarbrough probably should have made the save. He got beat near post. He got his hand on it, but he probably really needed to make the save. But 1-1 result. Good result for both teams, and look at what these coaches have done. I mean, both these teams in the top 5 in the Western Conference. And we've talked about Colorado before. I don't think we've talked enough about LA Galaxy. We've talked about the other LA team a lot, which we'll talk about here in a second. But, with Greg Vanney has done and been able to work with Chicharito Hernandez and kind of figure him out and figure out how to get guys around him to play, and throwing in some of the young guys with Efrain Alvarez, Julian Araujo, switching guys up with Nick DePuy and Steris in the back and some of their other guys, and let's give credit, honestly, to Jonathan Bond. I think he's been honestly one of the top goalkeepers this year, and he's really kept the LA Galaxy, at that top on the toward the top of the table in the Western Conference.
It's interesting because you're right. Colorado and LA are at the top of the table, or in amongst they're third and fourth. LA Galaxy fourth in the table, and the Galaxy have a goal difference of 0. So they scored 36 and have let in 36. That's unique.
They've had their moments.
That's a pretty unique. You don't see that very often after 23 games and 11 wins, by the way. Yes. 11 wins. I mean, that's pretty crazy to me. But you're right. They maybe some defensive lapses and goalkeeping lapses have been the cause of that. They are still 5 points behind Colorado, who are in third spot in the Western Conference. So, all right. So what other games we got there, my friend?
So the last one from the weekend for me was the Sunday night game, 10:30 at Sunday night. Stayed up to watch that one, at least 75 minutes of it before I dozed off a bit. But LAFC RSL was quite a game. I mean, you had Arango within the first 19 seconds score a goal and put LAFC at 1-0. Then you have Krylak, who gets a nice pass back, about 20 or so minutes later. Nice little curler over the keeper into the far end, beats Romero.
That was a great goal, just laid back and hit it with his right foot going to the outside of the back net. That was a great strike.
Very difficult to do. I mean, I was a goalkeeper, you were a field player, you probably know, but me as a goalkeeper, it's like, wow, that was really well placed.
It really was. It really was. He didn't even hit that hard. He just placed it so well. Yeah, yes. You're right. Very hard to feel. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, no problem. And then Arango, a few minutes later puts in his second of the game. And I mean, what an acquisition he's been for them. And, Vela and some of the other guys, Brian Rodriguez, and, obviously we talked about last week, Rossi going to Fenerbahce, them losing them, I mean, LAFC's made it great. And then unfortunately, just kind of the blunder by RSL off the miscommunication between Ochoa and Dakovic. And Dakovic, in the midway through the second half, that kind of just put him on, under the bullet, unfortunately, and gave LAFC the 3-2 win.
Yeah, that through ball that was played kind of misplaced by LAFC. There was no danger whatsoever, and Dakovic just coming back and tries to play it right back to the goalie, and just miscommunication. Just, I mean, honestly, that's all it comes down to, and that is just miscommunication. The goalkeeper's got to be screaming at the top of his lungs. Leave the ball, because if you're coming out for it, your defender's got to know, because he's got his back to the play. So just a blunder. And then Real Salt Lake lose the game because of that 3-2.
But I mean, props to Bob, and listen, Bob Bradley will take that win. It was a good start. If obviously with Bob, he I don't want to say he expects perfection, but he expects his guys to play close to 100%, and but he'll take the points, and they're still battling. They're still a little underneath that playoff line. Yeah. But like I've said before, that's my team. I think that'll jump over the playoff line. You'll see them at some point, because, some team will catch a bad break and lose a few games in a row, and you'll see LAFC jump them. So, they're going to be a fun team to watch. And again, they didn't have a lot of their guys. They had, Danny Musovski was playing, Bryce Duke, the young boy that they got from FC Barcelona Academy, and Casagran. They signed at 18, who's been playing up and down with the Las Vegas Lights. Him playing an American kid playing the 10 and doing a good job of it. It's just, Bob has, he has a way with coaching players, whether they're international or domestic, and figuring out their strengths on the field. And I really commend him for that, because that's why, I think he's one of, honestly, the greatest American coaches we've ever had in the United States.
Big words there, my friend. Big words, but you are correct. They are right on the playoff line. They're in 8th position with Real Salt Lake above them. They are tied on 30 points. It looks like the only thing that separates them right now is goal difference. So you've been saying this for a couple of weeks. Watch out for LAFC, because they really could make a push. And sure enough, they're climbing the table and making that push just like you predicted.
Yep.
So let's jump into the games that happened today. So we had Columbus and New York Red Bulls, with Columbus winning 2-1, goal coming in the 88th minute.
Go Barry.
Yeah.
Talk about him for a couple of weeks, right? I mean, he's just
yep.
He gets the start, and unfortunately, he's just not. He's the guy off the bench. He's the super sub, and and let's and with Columbus being down 1-0 heading into the second half, it was a great job by Darlington Nagbe to get up and get after that loose ball and head it over Tolkien, the young left wing back from New York Red Bull, just to get up, head, hits off the crossbar down and comes in. So that started it a bit, and then a couple of subs happened between NYRB and Columbus, and Miguel Berry comes in, and it was a wonderful composed finish. He gets the ball, he lets Gutman bite, he brings it back across, slots it into the corner. So it was a very well composed finish, and honestly, it was 3 points that Columbus need, and Columbus really need to win a lot if they really want to catch back up and get into that bottom part of the Eastern Conference, because if they don't, there's going to be a lot of teams pulling away very quickly.
You took the words out of my mouth. They needed those three points big time, because they are currently sitting in ninth on 30 points and out of the playoff position right now by 2 points. So you're right. They needed those 3 points tonight. So good for them to get that victory. One of the other games that happened today, this evening, is New York City FC against FC Dallas. 3-3 there. Lots of goals.
Yeah, lots of goals. Not a lot of fans, though, on a Tuesday night in New York. I don't think that's the place to be, unfortunately. But, listen, NYCFC getting up a little bit, even though there's not a lot of fans. 6 goals in the match. Always chippy. New York City FC, they play good football. They're a very physical team. They have defensive lapses at times, which I think really kills them. But, Dallas, needing points to get up in that Western Conference, because they're still, below, they're in that area below LAFC and some of the other in Vancouver where they can jump them. But if you start losing, then you get closer to Houston and Austin, and, the three Texas teams, the 3 Texas teams at the bottom of the Western Conference. So, right. But I commend Dallas. They started 5 academy kids tonight. Pepe, Jesus Ferreira, Brandon Servania, Justin Chi, Paxton Pomical, who unfortunately Paxton Pomical has had a lot of injuries the past year and a half or so. And I think, he was one of the kids that probably could have really excelled and maybe gotten himself into the men's national team at some point. That's still a possibility because he's still young. He's still 19, 20 years old. But, Justin Chi, they've talked about a kid that, is looking to probably head over to Europe at some point and be sold over to Europe. He got to go train with Bayern because FC Dallas has that connection with Bayern. That's how Chris Richards got over there. So, a lot of positivity coming up from Dallas's academy, and then the mixture of some of the college draft picks. They had 2 guys playing tonight, starting with some of the internationals. So, Dallas just has to find their way a little bit and not concede goals. That's going to be the tough part. They can score them. They have the talent with Pepe and Ferreira, but it's got to stop conceding.
Yeah, absolutely. When Pepe, every time he steps on the field, you expect him to score these days. Everything you hear is about him scoring. I'm on that Pepe hype train, if you hadn't noticed.
A lot of us are.
Yeah, big fan of his right now. The other game that happened tonight was Toronto FC against Inter Miami, with Inter Miami winning 1-0 on a penalty kick in the 95th minute. Inter Miami, 3rd win in a row, first time they've ever done that, put 3 wins in a row together. So good for them. I know it's early in their tenure of them being in the MLS, but still, 3 wins in a row, good for them. Phil Neville's got them moving up in the right direction. They just keep going.
Yeah, I will say this: TFC is kind of on the down right now. You lost to FC Cincinnati at their place where that was the first win they ever had at TQL Stadium for FC Cincy, and 2-0 loss over the weekend, and then you lose that heartbreaker to Miami, and it's been unfortunate. It's just been Chris Armas wasn't the guy. Unfortunately, there was some issues, with Altidore and Armas, and it seems like wasn't a good camaraderie or maybe culture going on, or maybe guys didn't see eye to eye. And the coaching's change, and TFC, they want to win and they have the money to spend. But, it's just unfortunately this year it just hasn't really been what they wanted it to be.
Definitely hasn't worked out this year. The lowest point total so far in the MLS, and from what I'm understanding, the rumors are right now in Toronto that the ownership and the top brass are letting this season play out, and then going to reassess and see how to fix this all up.
Yeah.
We'll see if they can do that, right?
Yeah.
So the other game that's happening tonight is the Leagues Cup game. Seattle Sounders hosting Santos.
Yes.
Tell us about that game, my friend.
Yeah, I think people, we only have, as MLS teams, we only have so many, in America, we play the times that we play Liga MX teams. And I think it's, unfortunately, not enough people watch the CONCACAF Champions League. I do. I was heartbroken when LAFC didn't win it last year, because I thought that was a team that was really going to get into the Club World Cup. And everyone's like, oh, the Club World Cup, like, the Champions League guys always win every year. And I'm like, yeah, they do, but it puts MLS on another stage, and it would be helpful for the league and soccer in America. And we get on, we get some more respect and such. But, I think this Leagues Cup is a good thing, where we're getting more mixture of Liga MX, MLS teams, to play against each other. I think it's good going forward. It's good for CONCACAF. Hopefully that can churn into, other things down the road. Whether it's, talks of Liga MX and MLS merging, or it's just getting more other CONCACAF teams into like a Leagues Cup,
Right.
where we can share the wealth, and we can help soccer grow in this region, which is important. But, Seattle at home, I mean, you got to like them, right?
Absolutely.
Hard to beat Seattle at Seattle.
Exactly. And I agree with 100% of what you said there. It'd be good to, see a lot of these MLS teams play League MX teams or other just CONCACAF teams. It's going to be fun. I know there's a lot of MLS teams. The rivalries have really built up in the MLS now, but it's good to see some of the good MLS teams going and fare well against these other teams from other countries and other leagues.
Exactly. And it's, it's the same thing. What I've been bummed that we haven't had the US Open Cup for 2 years, because I like to see the NISA teams, the USL Championship, League One teams play the MLS sides, and vice versa. Everyone else play each other, because it's just good for the country. It's good to see where teams stand, and it's good for leagues, especially USL, League One, and NISA and such. Like, it's important that we have diversity, and not teams within leagues just always playing each other.
Agreed, 100%. All right, games that are coming up on Wednesday night. There's a host of MLS games coming up, and then a CONCACAF Champions League game. We'll talk about that one last. Games coming up: Atlanta hosting FC Cincinnati, DC United hosting Chicago Fire, Orlando FC hosting CF Montreal, Sporting Kansas City hosting Minnesota United, Austin hosting LAFC, Portland hosting Colorado, LA Galaxy home to the Houston Dynamo, and last but not least, San Jose home to Real Salt Lake. Out of those games, which ones stick out to you as something you're gonna watch and really keep an eye on?
The big one that sticks out to me is probably Colorado going to Portland. With Portland and the winning streak they're on, and Colorado, with how they've been playing lately and the players they've acquired, obviously Colin Acosta, and they acquiring Mark Anthony Kaye from LAFC, and just the form that Colorado's been on this season. I think that's a big game for Portland to try to get a result, if they can at least get a point from that.
Yep.
I think LAFC going to Austin, I think when you go to Austin, there's no guarantee of a win, because it's a very tough place to play, as if anyone's watched on TV. I mean, they draw a great crowd, and it's not an advantage for the away team to go play in Austin. So, I think Bob will want 3 points from there. So that'll be big for LAFC then to move up into the table. Yeah, I mean, can FC Cincy keep it going against Atlanta? Atlanta's always been a tough place to play. It's not easy to go into to Mercedes-Benz Stadium and go play Atlanta, but this isn't really the same Atlanta team that we've known in the past. So right. It's gonna be tough. And then was it Sporting KC Minnesota? Was that the one?
Yeah, that's the one that stuck out to me right off the bat. Besides the Portland Colorado games, the Sporting KC hosting Minnesota United, that one stuck out to me as well.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that's become a rivalry in and of itself, and I
Mm.
think Minnesota honestly just made rivalries with every team because they've played the card. Nobody likes us. No, no one thinks we're good, and they want to prove everything, and they do, and they have a good side, and they're a good club, and they probably underperformed at certain times, and they were solid last year, and they unfortunately they got bounced. I think it was by Seattle. They got bounced last year in the MLS playoffs, but Peter Vermees will definitely want to win that one at home because Peter's very competitive.
The other one that stuck out to me, and it's probably not going to be stick out to a lot of people, was LA Galaxy hosting Houston Dynamo. Houston Dynamo, bottom of the table there in the West, and LA Galaxy needing to keep climbing and keep winning. So that one kind of stuck out to me, and we'll see if they can continue doing that and keep that 4-point distance above Portland, because I think if Portland managed to get 3 points against Colorado, it really puts the pressure on LA, the Galaxy. So that one stuck out to me a little bit. The other game that's coming up on Wednesday, as we mentioned, is the CONCACAF Champions League game. Philadelphia Union home to Club America. Now, Club America are in really good form. They have 4 wins and a draw in their last 5 games. So that's not going to be an easy game for the Union at all. We know how these teams from, the South America, they come to play. Yep. And it could get a little chippy. You think Philadelphia is up for this, and how do you think they're going to fare against Club America tomorrow night?
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one because Club America actually eliminated Portland. When they played the previous round. In the earlier or later spring. So, listen, Club America is a very good club. It's one of the biggest clubs in Mexico. Monterrey's still in there as well, and they always them and Tigres winning last year. Unfortunately, Tigres didn't qualify for last year. And they won it, but they didn't qualify within the league to get back to CONCACAF Champions League. But Club America, they've always, like I said, they've always been good. They always have solid players. They have a lot of Mexican national team players. They have a really good youth academy. They bring a lot of young guys up and play. So it's going to be tough for Philly. And I imagine people that that follow the CONCACAF Champions League, I don't think they would have thought that Philadelphia would have been the last MLS team standing, in CONCACAF Champions League. If I think everyone thought Columbus was going to be the one, but unfortunately injuries, really set them back and couldn't advance them further into CONCACAF Champions League. But having said that, though, Jim Curtin has a plan. He believes in his young players. He has some veterans like Shabilko and Martinez and Wagner and Glesnes and Andre Blake. And he has guys, I think, when you have a goalkeeper like Andre Blake that can make the save and affect the outcome of the game with making big saves. And if you can get a point or you can draw or not concede at home, I think that'll be very important for Philadelphia. If somehow they can squeak a goal out, that would be great for them. But I think the really thing, they just don't want to concede at home. That I think if they can come away 1-0, they'll feel good. Obviously then you don't want to just go bunker in though at Club America. You don't want to, because they're going to have the ball a lot and they're going to play at Estadio Azteca. So, that's always a tough place to play for anyone that watches the U.S. men's national team and Mexican national. Estadio Azteca is one of the toughest places to play with the altitude, and it's not with the pollution, and it's not the easiest place to play. But yeah, hope, if Philly can get the 1-0 win, I think they'll be in good shape. And, I think people underestimate what the potential Philly has. So we'll see what happens. But I think Jim Curtin's got a plan and he'll make it happen.
Awesome. Well, I kind of hope they go out and play and give it a good shot and get that victory. We'll see. That game is on Wednesday night. Well, Brooks, again, as usual, we could go on and on. We could talk about players, teams, competitions, everything. But we'll have to wrap it up. Thank you again for joining MLS Roundup, Brooks. Very much appreciate it, my friends.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to next week.
Yeah, man, next week, because there's a host of games coming up. We'll talk about next week. And let's keep this rolling, buddy.
Thank you.
All right. Till next week. Cheers.
Cheers.